topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon, Chicago. Welcome to another Ask the Experts. You know, I say Chicago, but we really modulate throughout the state of Illinois. And we want to thank you for tuning in today. Gosh, I've got a great show for you today. It's a show that it's what Ask the Experts is all about. That we can bring one of the top lawyers in the state of Illinois, and at no cost to you, you are going to get a real lesson if you've got a bankruptcy problem or maybe you've got a IRS problem. You want to make sure that you watch or listen to today's show, or you might have a friend or a family member who might be going through bankruptcy or might have a problem with the IRS. You want them to watch or listen to today's show. We have one of the finest attorneys in the state of Illinois. Let's welcome Kevin Benjamin. Good afternoon, Kevin.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Well, I got to tell you, gosh, you were like an old hat at this. This is your second year going into doing the shows with us, and you put on such a great show, Kevin. We're getting so many letters from people who are finding our show for the first time. Would you mind introducing yourself and your firm?
Okay, I'm Kevin Benjamin with Benjamin Legal Services. We are a smaller boutique-style consumer protection firm. Do a lot of bankruptcy practice, tax resolution, foreclosure defense. Most of our clients are consumers. We do businesses as well, but basically we help people get out of debt or restructure their debt, eliminate the debt, keep your property, restructure your debt. And if you got a problem with the IRS or state of Illinois or other taxing agencies, we can help you outside of bankruptcy, restructure those debts, resolve the IRS situation, offering compromise programs, installment agreements, currently non-collectible status, effective tax administration, all kinds of different programs. So you may not need bankruptcy if you got a tax issue. And then sometimes taxes can be discharged in bankruptcy too. So maybe you want to consider that. So otherwise, you may not even have a tax issue. We can eliminate debt or stop foreclosure, save your home, stuff like that.
Kevin, what's so great about what you do is when a potential client comes to your office or calls you, they have got the weight of the world on their back, whether it's a bankruptcy problem or it's a tax problem. And you've got so many ways to help a client out, don't you?
Absolutely. There's a lot of tax resolution firms. We have a law firm, Benjamin Legal Services. We have a tax resolution business, Noble Tax Relief. It's the same, basically. I mean, Noble Tax Relief is simply tax resolution only, where the law firm is tax resolution and bankruptcy, foreclosure defense, and other litigation, stuff like that. So basically, but not a lot of tax professionals have the background that I have, where they could, I belong to the U.S. tax
code. Bankruptcy.
Yeah,
show.
Yeah. So right now we're doing bankruptcy. So a lot of people don't even know,
like I said, we're gonna.
What happened? Can you hear me?
There's all Kevin. There's all different areas of bankruptcy um, that people don't. In Chapter 11, 13. Can you go over the different chapters?
Sure. Well, what most people are not doing is Chapter 9 is for governments, Chapter 12 is for farmers, Chapter 15 is like international cross borders. Chapter 11 is usually a corporation restructuring debt, or an individual is more complicated. There's debt limits, or there's different reasons. Maybe an individual can do a Chapter 11, but it's basically was not usually for Chapter 11 corporations. Then there's a small business Chapter 11. There's what they call the sub 5 Chapter 11. There's single asset real estate Chapter 11. So all kinds of different things. Generally speaking, a person does a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13. So a Chapter 13 is like a corporation would do a Chapter 11. It's a simpler, more streamlined, more affordable personal restructuring of debt. Think of it like a court-ordered bill consolidation, but you're paying your unsecured creditors almost always at 0%. Chapter 7 is like a straight bankruptcy. When someone says, I'm getting out of debt filing bankruptcy, you got to qualify income-wise or type of debt. So you can get exempt from the income qualification. Then you can only do it once every 8 years. And then you want to make sure you're not going to lose any property, because bankruptcy is federal law, but there's state exemptions. So that's why you have a lawyer to make sure you're not losing anything that you don't want to lose. I have a couple cases going on right now that we filed Chapter 7, and they're probably not going to lose anything, but there was a small amount of non-exempt assets that I don't think the trustee would even try anything. If they did, we probably could stop it. But when you compare maybe $5,000 or $6,000 to over $100,000 of what you're getting discharged, sometimes you want to just go for it anyway. We don't have anybody losing anything unless they really want to, or they know there could be a couple pennies just to get rid of all the debt and avoid the Chapter 13. But basically our job is to go over what are your options, the pros and cons of each. What does it cost you? Help you make an informed decision. What are the risks? What are the rewards? And that's what we do.
We reach out throughout the state of Illinois now, Kevin. So if someone is far away, you can still handle their case, can't you?
Yeah, most people just call it Illinois. You don't say the S. So, Illinois, not Illinois. Yeah, we can handle it. As far as I'm licensed for bankruptcy in different states and federal jurisdictions. It's federal law. I've done cases in many jurisdictions. We're not, marketing in a bunch of jurisdictions to try to do it, but I have. Otherwise, I could refer someone out for income tax or IRS resolution. It could be anywhere.
Kevin, what happens to tax liens when you file Chapter 7 bankruptcy?
Well, it depends if the tax lien was there before you filed. So if the IRS, for example, has a tax lien on you, when you file, the tax lien actually survives the bankruptcy. They won't try to collect if the debt is dischargeable. Now, it's another issue. We can talk about that in a second, or even on the next show. But if a tax lien is not filed before you file the bankruptcy, they cannot file the lien after you're filing the case, during the case. So there's liens, there's garnishments, there's all kinds of different ways. There's lawsuits, people want to stop when you're filing bankruptcy. They're getting sued for different things. Foreclosure stops foreclosure, depending on what kind of case you file, for example.
what about bankruptcy? Can bankruptcy stop wage garnishments or wage assignments?
Yeah. Well, a wage assignment is usually someone does a voluntary wage assignment. They could actually stop that without filing bankruptcy. You just revoke it. But a wage garnishment is different than a wage assignment, because a wage assignment, you're just giving someone the right to do it. A wage garnishment is after a court order. So you've got a judgment of a monetary amount of money. That's, the creditor has the judgment, and now they're garnishing your wages, or they're attacking your bank account, trying to leave you that, or they do what's called a citation to discover assets to try to find where your assets are. So yes, though, a Chapter 7 or 13 bankruptcy would stop a wage garnishment. As a matter of fact, if you're being garnished, not only will it stop, you may be able to get maybe up to 90 days worth of garnishments money back. Depends on how much they took, because it's federal law, but state exemptions. So if you could exempt it's called a preferential transfer, basically, to the creditor. So if we could exempt the preferential transfer, or exempt up to what we could exempt, you declare it as an asset in the bankruptcy as a preferential transfer, you can get that money back from the creditor as well.
Now, will bankruptcy stop all court proceedings?
Not well. If you're being sued for money, I mean, most people are calling they're being sued for money, collection or deficiency. So the answer would be yes. But like, for example, criminal proceedings, divorce proceedings, those non-monetary type of lawsuits, no. There's an automatic stay. Those are exceptions to automatic stay. But generally speaking, when someone's calling me, they're getting sued, it's usually for money, credit card, payday loan, lender, maybe a secured auto loan deficiency or mortgage deficiency, something like that. So it's usually a monetary amount of the lawsuit, which is why they're calling, so they don't get garnished. And yes, it'll stop it. So the automatic stay would stop those proceedings, it would stay it. It would stay those proceedings in their track, pending the outcome of the bankruptcy, whether you're doing a 7 or a 13. If you're doing a 13, you got to finish the case. Otherwise, the lawsuit would get reinstated. And if you're doing a Chapter 7, it's discharged unless there's an exception to discharge, like some debts for money, for example, like, debts incurred by fraud or, child support, alimony. There's certain debts that are by statute not dischargeable. But people have to understand, property settlements in a divorce can be discharged. It's only the part of a property settlement that's subject to child support or alimony. So a lot of people don't, even divorce lawyers, they start saying, you can't discharge this. If their legal fee was part of child support or alimony, true. But oftentimes it's not. So you could discharge that as well. And property settlement agreements can be discharged to an extent as well.
What about, can bankruptcy stop the IRS levies?
Yeah. Any levy. If you're being levied, you file bankruptcy and they'll stop.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, of course,
what
you
about,
want to file Chapter 7 if you don't qualify for it, or if you got an asset that's more than the levy is, and you would lose it. But you would file Chapter 13 or Chapter 11. But yes, but most people don't even have anything, and it would stop at the IRS levy. Yes.
And it would stop the IRS garnishments too?
Yeah.
Okay. It's amazing. We got a lot of questions from listeners wanting to know, if you're a couple and the husband files bankruptcy, does it affect your wife also?
No, so if you're a couple and the wife files, so the wife is the debtor, okay, person filing, and the husband in that example is what's called a non-filing spouse. So filing bankruptcy, it's kind of like filing tax returns. You must state whether you're married or single, and are you filing jointly or individually. So if you're doing tax returns, you could be, married filing individually, married filing jointly. In bankruptcy, same thing, married filing just for myself. So then only the discharge order is granted towards the person filing, not the non-filing spouse. However, when you consider qualifications for Chapter 7, or how much you're paying in a 13, or the ability to pay in a Chapter 13 restructuring, it's household income, but also household. Let's say you count your non-filing spouse's income, but they may have their own debts also, so you count their expenses too, in a Chapter 13. But no, they don't be affected, but they don't get the benefit of it either. Now, if your non-filing spouse is a joint creditor, and you're filing, for example, like a Chapter 13, there's a co-debtor stay if you're paying that back, but that's a different animal. But the general answer is you do not have to file jointly at all.
I used to hear that people would say maybe they had $20,000 in bills. I'm giving you low amounts, and you'll see why. But or they had 15,000. And people would tell them that's too low of amount to file for bankruptcy.
Yeah,
the famous people, clients?
The famous friends and neighbors and cousin or someone who knew someone from 20 years. It's all relative. You know what I'm saying? Like I had someone just this week, we're talking about it. They thought they owed $12,000, which is kind of low. Turns out it's only $7,000, but they had a bunch of traffic tickets with the city of Chicago. And someone was telling her this to file bankruptcy. And I let her know the traffic tickets in Chapter 7 are not necessarily dischargeable. Like in Chicago, now they kind of changed that if it's more than 3 years old. But that's why you have a lawyer to tell you what's dischargeable and what's not. But there's what's called a super discharge. If you file Chapter 13, you can't discharge, for example, parking tickets, paying them pennies. So it's just kind of strange. But it's all relative to your situation. Why is someone even calling me? They have $7,000 or $10,000 because, in this situation, they're hardly making anything, and they don't want to be garnished because $10,000 to one person is $100, grand to another. Someone owing $25,000 or $30,000 could be a drop in the bucket to somebody else. But also consider these credit cards or these payday loans. You get 20-25% interest on the credit cards, maybe 30. Payday loans could be 100%. I mean, some of these debt it's not just the amount, it's the astronomical interest in payments. And then even when you're making payments, you're paying $500, $600, $800 a month, and your debt's going up because you're not even covering interest payments. And then someone's going to garnish you, or maybe you're, got kids. I mean, you can't afford it. So there's no limit. There's no limit. I would just talk to the person and say, if you have a way around it, I'll give you the advice. But there's no minimum to file, but most people don't file for small amounts.
How far, when you do bankruptcy, how long do you have to? Years or 8 years before you can go in?
Okay, so if you file bankruptcy, Chapter 7, get out of debt, you could get out of you can get a discharge every 8 years. However, you could file a Chapter 13 after Chapter 7, known as the Chapter 20, but there's no such thing as Chapter 20. But there's different reasons for Chapter 13. For example, if you're in foreclosure and they're going to sell your house, whatever, we can stop that. But you're not going to do a Chapter 7 to stop. You're going to do a 13. You're going to cure and maintain the mortgage. Where in a foreclosure case, the lender's telling you, you got to give me the $50,000 you're behind or $10,000 you're behind up front. That's not true. I can get you 60 months at no interest on the arrearage. And then you maintain the current mortgage payment that in foreclosure, like in Illinois, for example, they won't take your current payment. That's you'd be paying the principal, interest, tax, and insurance on. But the arrearage, 60 months, no interest, and that's it. So no problem at all.
Kevin, tell people how they can reach you.
Well, Benjamin Legal Services, it's benjaminlaw.com. The phone number is 312-853-3100, 312-853-3100. You can email us at attorneys, plural, attorneys at benjaminlaw.com or Kevin at benjaminlaw.com. But just call 312-853-3100 or just go to the website, benjaminlaw.com, and all the information is there. And there's even on the website, you could actually just fill out your name and number and contact information, and I'll get a notification and we could contact you. I could send you a Calendly link. Someone could get on my calendar. Calendly, if you're familiar with that, calendly.com/Kevin Benjamin. But that's on the website too. So you just go on the website, all the information is there, benjaminlaw.com.
I want to move over to tax relief. And I love the word relief because I know after they are relieved, it's another heavy burden when the IRS is coming after you, isn't it?
Yeah, the IRS is a very powerful, intimidating, major, big machine that's coming after you with all the tools and power of the government. So yeah, it's very, very intense on a lot of people because they have a lot more tools than a regular collector would have. But even if you owe taxes, you may want to consider bankruptcy. We can analyze it for that, or you can pay it back in a restructuring plan.
But we read where.
I couldn't hear you. Looks like we lost Steve.
I think we're having some technical difficulties.
Oh, you're back. There you are.
No, I'm here.
I see it. What's the question?
I understand they've hired 80,000 new agents.
Yeah, they had $80 billion from Congress, which was reduced to about $60 billion over several years to come after people, enforcement. But some of it also is hiring new agents, new phone people, hopefully software technology. But they're hiring a lot more new agents. And also all the COVID relief, all the brakes they put on collection, that's gone as of January 1st, 2024. They're coming after you now with tax liens, levies, collection activity. They're coming hard. They hired a lot more people, which is good and bad. Because there's a lot of hold time when you call the IRS. And so they have new agents, but they're new. They don't know a lot of stuff, so sometimes
it's really
not so easy to deal with because they don't know the Internal Revenue Manual. They don't know the rules. They don't know what can be done. I'm saying. So
that makes your job much harder.
Depends who it is. Yeah. Yesterday, I have a client who owes $1 million and, they hired one of the national companies to handle it, which of course they didn't do anything. And, but I know there's different collection areas of the IRS. There's the ACS, automated collection systems. You have a revenue agent or officer. You could be in, different phases, right? And I know where it's supposed to be, and we're taking over, and we have to present a resolution. And I can't get I got the transcripts and stuff from the IRS, but I was just trying to figure out who the officer was because there had to be one, right? So the Optima didn't give him anything. My client didn't really know anything. From the IRS file, it didn't look like it's a sign, but it can't be. So I'm calling the IRS, and they don't know what's going on. So they're like, oh, wait a second. No, you're an automatic collection. $1 million, so I know I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Well, it actually was, but he's not supposed to be because they can't do anything. You know what I'm saying? And then they're like, oh, no, you're in special circumstances. Okay, great. Give me that. Transfer me over there. Hello. Why are you calling? Because I'm in Oh, no, your client's not. Well, I was just told they were. Well, hold on, maybe they are. And then it's like, okay, maybe they are. You're supposed to have a revenue officer. I say, yeah, I know. That's why I'm calling. Who is it? Hey, you were never assigned. Yeah, I know. So they're getting it straight now. So like within 2 weeks, we'll have somebody. It kind of worked out because they had to file the last returns. They have a lot of tax liens on it, but the IRS, they have the liens and stuff, but they weren't doing any levies because it was just sitting there. You know what I'm saying? But sitting there isn't going to resolve my client's problem, especially if the interest keeps, accruing. However,
Right.
they were getting the tax returns filed and they were getting some documents to me. We're getting straightened out. So now it's good because now I'm actually ready to submit the offer. I'm just waiting on them now to tell me so it goes to the right place so we can start getting this done. Whereas before, if my client wasn't really ready and they're 11, because they have cash in the bank, that could have been an issue. So it kind of worked out, but the IRS doesn't always know what's going on. They have a lot of files, a lot of people.
With the IRS, I just want people to know that if you hire Kevin, first thing is if you try to handle this yourself, Kevin, how long are they going to be on the phone just trying to get somebody on the phone?
Well, that's interesting. Even if there's no special, because you're a lawyer. Sometimes we know certain times to call are better, or someone in the West Coast is calling the East Coast. No, there's all kinds of tricks some of us have just because, we don't want to be on hold forever. Otherwise, they put you on hold forever, and then they hang up on you, which is called a courtesy disconnect, which no one can ever figure out how that's being courtesy by making me wait for 2 hours and 12 minutes and hanging up on me. So, so that's not always good. So yeah, just the whole time alone and trying to deal with the IRS is not easy. But if you're in with a revenue agent or officer, you have their phone number at least. If you're in automatic collections, the automatic collection systems, ACS, you're just calling a queue, and someone's calling. You don't know who's going to answer the phone. It could be someone else they're doing, someone doesn't know what they're doing, and then sometimes they do a not courteous disconnect. They just hang up and they pretend like it was disconnected because they don't want to answer your question or they can't.
Wow.
And so they just hang up. Then you're calling back. Now, when you're in ACS, that runaround, if you're doing it yourself, you don't know if what they're telling you is actually the correct facts. They don't always know what's going on. There could be a newer person. They don't know all the rules or exceptions. And sometimes even someone like myself will call and be talking on the ACS. And, maybe I don't hang up on them, but maybe I just say, thank you for not, goodbye, call again and get someone else we're talking about. It's just a lot easier than just to deal with it the other way. So it's not fun. But again, it's like, you handle it yourself, of course. I had someone call me the other day, and of course you could be your own lawyer too, your own plumber, your own doctor, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, you don't know what you don't know. I have a couple of people who were calling me the last few months, and they did their own installment agreement. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, why'd you do this? You should have been doing an offer. Well, I just did it myself. Okay. Why didn't you do an offer? Oh, I didn't know I could. I just talked to the IRS and they told me this website. They didn't give me that option. Oh, they didn't give you the option to try to settle it. Of course not. They're not looking out for you. They're saying, and by the way, there's an installment agreement full pay. There's an installment agreement partial pay. Guess what's one these people are getting, full pay. So, you don't know.
But, let's back up, Kevin. Yeah. But even before then, you might end up giving them information that you should not have given them.
Oh, yeah. You don't know what you're saying. Okay. And exactly. Sometimes the information you're giving them is actually not the correct information because the person doesn't know what what they're really asking and what they really mean. So it's all. I had someone. I don't own any property. And it could be this. But then I'm getting to the case. I'm like, what are you talking about? You can't just give away your $500,000 property to your kids for $1 a year lease, because someone told you that's how you do it. Because you don't own it, but you do for as far as the purposes for the IRS. Because they're not giving you an offer in compromise when you just gave it away. So you can't do that. I have people not counting. They're helping out. See, it's really an exercise in cash flows, right? There's no magic, all this crap on these national companies. You call them, everyone's offering compromise. Yeah, maybe, okay. but not everyone qualifies for an offer in compromise. It's not like some constitutional right to settle your debts for pennies on the dollar. And there's no magic negotiator. Oh, I'm going to, these national companies, we just settle for pennies. No, that's not how you do it. It's an exercise in cash flow. The IRS will settle your debt. Someone calls me, they're $500,000. They're making, how am I going to? You're not, because they're not going to, you can never pay it. But that's why they'll settle it through an offer in compromise. It's an exercise in cash flows. What is the reasonable collection number the IRS can get, right? And that's the number they will accept. So let's say whatever its income expenses. Now, of course, part of the negotiation is what are the expenses and what are the assets and how you evaluating the assets and is this asset really exempt? So that's part of the negotiation. Okay, so it's not a magic negotiation where I'm offering you this. You give me. It's you're playing with the reasonable collection number, right? By doing that, right, and knowing what the rules are and things of that nature. So let's say it's $20,000, okay, and you owe $200,000. They should take 10%. You owe $2 million. That's a 1%. It's still it's 20 grand either way. So if somebody's I settle for a penny on the dollar. Well, you settle for $20,000 because that's what the IRS is in my example is owed. They owe $2 million, so it's a penny. They owe $200,000 is 10%. They owed $100,000. It's 20%. I mean, so it's just a number, not the percentage. Everyone's so hard up on the percentage because they're being besieged on the radio and TV with these settle pennies on the dollar. Oh, I owe $20,000. I can get pennies on the dollar. Not if your number is 20,000. If your number is 10,000, you owe 20. You get 50. Well, someone else got 2 cents because they didn't get 2 cents. They owed a lot more money than you do. It's the reasonable collection number that the IRS is going to, and then they will take it. That's why people they close their eyes and it gets really depressing. The IRS come after me, they're doing this and that. I can never pay this back. You're an offer in compromise person, or they have what's called a status of currently non-collectible. You can get it for 2 years of them backing off. Okay? Or effective tax administration. Okay, it's just not conscionable given your circumstances for the IRS to try to collect. Okay, so then you can get that, right? I had someone calling me trying to get that a month or so ago on their own, right? They're talking to me. Well, actually, they had a lawyer friend and they referred to me. But I told her, it's like, at first it sounded like, yeah, wow. But then it's like, well, wait a second. You're not an effective tax administration because you actually do have income somewhere else on the properties and you do have equity in here. So it's not just a matter of nothing. It's a matter, but we can't settle for a lot less than what you thought, given them the numbers they were talking about. But everyone thinks they have a right because they talked to their friend or something. They knew someone who settled. It's just business. It's a negotiation, but it's not like you're negotiating a player NFL contract where you're just like giving numbers and I'm taking my guy over here and we'll go play for him. We got a better offer. There's no better offer. You're talking to the IRS. I'm trying to get you the better offer by showing the numbers. Okay, there's not a reasonable collection. The IRS is 20 grand. And I'm showing 12, right? In whatever example I'm showing. So now we're $8,000 off. But why? Well, maybe they have a real estate, but the IRS has it valued over here. But that's not what the value is because I'm local and I got a recent appraisal. I'm saying, and there's a certain percentage they will take off because it's a fast liquidate. You're not liquidating it, but they IRS would even say, if we were going to liquidate it, basically. So there's a number, but you got to have the full number to get the bigger discount. And then maybe there's also liens, or is there exempt money that doesn't have to count in the formula? Do you have a car payment that you're taking, but the IRS says, well, you only got 2 payments left, so that money goes back in? Well, not really. I may buy another car. You know what I'm saying? So, and then by the way, just because they say yes or no doesn't mean that's how it is. I talk to the manager, I can talk to the revenue agent, talk to the supervisor, I could do an appeal, collection due process appeal. You go to tax court. I mean, there's all kinds of phases in there. Okay? And tell you the truth, sometimes it's easier if you get past the first level, because the people doing that, they're just looking at, nope, that's the number. Okay, how about just give me the rejection? I got 30 days. I'll appeal. But now at the appeals, and the appeal is not like a court appeal, like in a regular litigation case where it's like, are you overturning that? The appeal of the IRS is also, okay, what were you saying? And, it's not like, okay, it's they're right or you're wrong, and it goes back to them like an appeals court would send it back to the lower court, They'll say you're right or you're wrong, but how are we resolving this? I'm saying so, and they have more experienced people on that level. What I'm saying is, the Internal Revenue Manual dictates this. The code dictates this. The other person didn't know that, and the more seasoned person would know that. And then you just resolve it. And if not at that level, then you go different level.
Kevin, sometimes their numbers are wrong.
Exactly. I mean, they're not looking out for you. They want their money. Okay. They're not your friend. It's so funny. Like, even in a law firm, people call losing their homes. They're calling me to save it. Right. I'm doing it. Well, I just talked to the bank, and they said, they said what? Now they're your friend. It's like, what, are you kidding me? It's like unbelievable. So, I wouldn't call them yourself. I get a professional, because first of all, you don't know what even offering compromise. There's different programs. There's streamlined, non-streamlined. Do you owe less than 25 or 50,000 or under 100 or $1 million? There's different. What documents do you need? Can you get a streamline with no documents, or maybe you're over the streamline number, but hey, I can just pay down a few bucks. Now I'm getting a streamline program. I don't got to show all the other documents, right? And then you could even get into an installment agreement, or, if you don't qualify for something like that quickly, and they won't levy or garnish you, right? Or lien you because you're doing something, right? Now, so there's all kinds of ways. And then on an installment agreement, there's the full pay, there's the partial pay, and there's the currently non-collectible, the effective tax administration, first-time penalty abatement, which is really, if you've done it for 3 years, can you abate some of the penalties on there, which a lot of times it's a lot of penalties, very similar to a foreclosure. People call me, I don't owe $40,000. Well, with the compound interest and with the attorney fees and costs, maybe you do. It adds up a lot more than people think. But can I get it? Someone they owe $12,000. Someone just called, a small amount, right? I'm looking at it the other day. I'm like, I don't know if you even need. It's a penalty abatement you could try yourself. I could do it for him, but so most of that is penalties, and you may qualify for the abatement. And if you do, your only tax would be like, in that case, it's like $3,000. So it's like 25% of what he thought he owed. What I'm saying? So it doesn't really need me in that situation. But they don't know, but it adds up real quick.
Kevin, once a client signs with you, I think one of the best things is they no longer have to talk to the IRS anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And the IRS would be thanking you as well. They don't want, they want their money to talk, but honestly, they want to get it resolved, right? And, if you're talking to a professional, whether it's your CPA, enrolled agent, EA they're called, or an attorney, those are the 3 qualifications where someone can represent a third party in a tax negotiation, IRS resolution. They'd rather talk to me because I know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
I had someone just the other day. I'm talking to she's telling me this and this. She, again, another one who did it herself, right? Knows everything, went online, didn't need anybody. Next thing you know, I get involved. I talked to she had a revenue officer involved right away, but she had all the contact information. So boom, okay. Talk to the person. Well, Kevin, did your client tell you this, or that, or about this asset, or about how they dissipated that one? No, and that's not good. And that's why sometimes I don't even want to take it with someone else. I will if someone needs help, but you got to tell me things, okay? I'd rather do it from scratch, because I want to know what's going on, because I have to make the arguments, right? But you can't withhold information from me.
What happens with
what?
Kevin, what happens when the IRS puts a levy on you?
Okay. Well, there's liens and there's levies, right? So a lien is really a security interest in your property.
I mean, can you very quickly?
A lien? Well, a lien actually, what people don't know is that they don't have to, if they assess you taxes and send you a bill and they don't pay it, you don't pay it, there's actually a lien automatically on there. It's just not filed yet. They have a lien, okay? Then if they actually file in the county where you live or where the property is located, or sometimes it's the same one, then that's the notice of the tax lien. But by the way, before they do that, you get all kinds of letters from the IRS, and it'll say notice or final notice before tax lien. So, and then you have appeal rights too. So you got to give me these letters. So the liens can be automatic, which is different than the recorded one. A levy is where they're taking the asset, taking the money. A lien is a security insurance. A levy is I'm attacking your bank account. I had someone just 2 days ago, it's a state one. Oh my God, I got a levy there, because you owe the money, I'm saying. And so they're just taking it, right? So, and levies, by the way, they can be released, right? And how many times can the IRS levy you? Well, there's a 10-year statute of limitations on collecting the IRS debt. So even if you got it released they could keep doing it many times, but they won't do it if you get it released and you make a resolution. They're not going to they can't. You know what I'm saying? You're in an installment agreement, or you settled an offer in compromise, or you're currently non-collectible, maybe up to 2 years. So you could resolve it, but if you just temporarily resolve it and then you have an installment agreement and you don't pay, then they cancel the agreement, or you are paying, but now you don't file your returns next year or pay your tax on time, or you're self-employed, you're not doing your quarterly estimated taxes. They're going to cancel it. You're not compliant, and
that really makes your job harder.
Yeah, because people think they're smart. The IRS is smart too. You know what I'm saying? So am I, though. You know what I'm saying? And then some clients are smart, but everyone just thinks they're smart. I like the clients. That's when, hey, they screwed up, whatever happens. Maybe they were self-employed, or real estate brokers, or independent contractors. They were not always paying their taxes and stuff like that. So it just happens, but it's not criminal. I mean, there is a criminal division of the IRS, but I'm talking about people just owing the money is not criminal. Okay. And again, the amount of debt may be so overwhelming, like, oh, I can never pay this, but that's why you're calling me, because the IRS may settle that. Okay. Because if it's really is that situation, that's what the offer and compromise is for. Okay. Some people do qualify for that. They really do. You know what I'm saying? Just not like on TV where everyone automatically qualifies, because you don't, I got one going on right now. I'm going to be paying an installment agreement. I think it's like $15,000 or $18,000. I was telling I was trying to get it down, and my client I was talking to yesterday, he's like, "Oh, that's good," So well, it's okay, But I said, now, depending on your financials, which I haven't given the IRS yet, I'm saying, I'm estimating that they may want a nice down payment. So now I got to work on that part before submitting, because when I submit, I got to know what I'm offering. If they say no, that I'm not shocked, because I didn't give them the upfront cash, because
Right.
Maybe they take it. So why am I offering the upfront cash? I'm saying, but when they come back and reject it and say, I want 50,000 up front, and I was estimating 165. Okay, that may be a good deal, because my client hasn't. So everyone's situation is different. So how you present the offer, and then as your attorney or tax professional who's negotiating with the IRS, I have to know my numbers. Okay, I got to know, hey, this may be what they're really asking for, but you want to try this? No, that's not going to work. That's just crazy. Or, something, okay, there's some gray area here. We could try that, but I advise my client that they may come back and say this and that. So when it happens, no one's shocked. But now we're negotiating. But sometimes if you're making a fair offer, but not what maybe they would demand, you'd be surprised they may come back and accept it, or their counteroffer is less than I thought they were going to be. So it's a game, it's a chess game. But
Kevin,
you should play yourself.
We only have a few minutes left. The main thing I always hope to get across on this show, and you always bring it up several times, is folks, don't try to do this yourself. Yeah. That's Kevin knows this business. Kevin, give everybody your phone number and your website address.
Okay, 312-853-3100. That's 312-853-3100. BenjaminLaw.com or NobleTaxRelief.com, but BenjaminLaw.com will get you everything. You can just go to the website, you fill out a form. I'll contact you if you want. Attorneys, plural, at BenjaminLaw.com if you want to email, but you're better off just going on the website, BenjaminLaw.com. Just put your name and number and email in there. We'll contact you and set up a free consultation, or the phone numbers are on the website too, and you can just call.
Kevin, thank you so much. Kevin will be back with us again next month on the Ask the Expert show. Kevin, you always do such a great job. Take care, bro.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
That's Kevin Benjamin, wonderful bankruptcy attorney. He also handles tax relief. That's it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.